Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services here this morning, we would kindly ask if everyone would please turn off or silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
Shalom, good morning. My name is Rabbi Gary Gans. I'm sad but honored to be with you this morning as we acknowledge the life of Shelley. Ma'ayan HaChayim, sharing our sorrow. We gather today to commemorate the life of Shelley Fleischman. We recall the blessing of her life. We thank God for all that was good and true in her life, and for the precious memories which shall endure. Eternal God, her family and friends, bowed in grief, seek light to dispel the dark gloom which threatens to overwhelm them. Be gracious to those who mourn, for they are in distress. Bless them with your compassion. Ease their burden of sorrow. Send them light and peace. For it is written, "Fear not, as I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I'll sustain you with my power." And let us say, Amen. I offer now Psalm 23, an excerpt in Hebrew as well as an English interpretation. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, b'nodesha yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yanachaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, yancheni magle tzedek, nema'an shemo. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God has me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside the still waters. God guides me on paths of righteousness and revives my soul for the sake of God's glory. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. Just before we began this more public ceremony, I stood together with those in the front row, and we created a sanctuary of space, of consolation, of mourning. And I cut the ribbons that are worn by Deborah, Keith, and Eric. And you'll notice after you see them later that they're on the left-hand side. And as I explained to them, it was thousands of years old biology. And we thought the heart was embedded totally on the left-hand side. And we know that it's not exactly there today, but that is the code when looking at a person wearing a memorial ribbon. If they're mourning a parent, the ribbon's on the left. And the other relationship, it's on the right. But I also explained to them, when I cut the ribbons, they're only cut partway across. The tearing represents the tearing that they've felt emotionally and internally. These ribbons are never to be restitched, but the fabric that remains intact represents the fabric of life and their connectedness to Shelley and all the life and love that they shared with her through all these years. I'm going to share a text with you. If one can have a favorite funeral text, this is it coming up. I stood at this podium and shared with many members of my congregation, even my own parents. So I found this so meaningful. And I'll share it with you as well, but in translation. Written by a scholar of thousands of years ago named Ben Sirach. And he wrote, "We are all destined to die. We share with all who ever lived, with all who ever will be. Cry for the dead, hide not your grief. Do not restrain your mourning, but remember that continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory be a source of peace, and be consoled when the soul departs." Death is better than a life of pain and eternal rest than lingering illness. Let us not seek to understand what is too difficult for us, nor search for what is hidden, nor be preoccupied with what is beyond. For we have been shown more than we can comprehend. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, are our few days in eternity. The good things in life last for a short time, but a good name, a good reputation, endures forever. We're going to have a number of people who have been pre-selected to share some of that goodness and their anecdotes. And I call first on Keith to please join us.
Okay. I said I wasn't going to do this. Okay, I just wrote this down. There are no words. How does one attempt to explain Give me a minute. The life and love of my mother Rochelle at these moments. Should these words be a historical life and love story? Of a life as a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, and a grandmother? In that manner, should they include the myriad of others whose lives she touched with so much love and generosity? To do so would not be possible, both in the allotted time for her memory, nor memory, so enormous would that list be. Instead, I think it is better to talk about her nature and her steadfast devotion to those that she loved. There are two words which come to mind in thinking of Mom and her life, and those words are giving and living. Mom gave to a fault, period. There was no limit to her giving, even often to her own detriment. She was a giver. Money, time, you name it. If she loved and cared, she would go to the end of the earth to help. And when I speak of her help, I am not only speaking of time or money, but an absolute obsession to help whoever or whatever it was make things right. Although our family was small, her family, those that she loved and was close to, was enormous. She gained so much satisfaction when helping others. She was very involved in the yoga world, and in a young age played an instrumental part in the creation of Sky Foundation. After meeting Dr. Pratap, she then worked every year in helping produce a Yoga Research Society meeting, which would contain medical yoga conferences, mixing the worlds of Western and Eastern medicine with yoga and traditional medicine. Having opted out of her own medical career, deciding not to go to Albert Einstein College of Medicine to raise a family, she found tremendous satisfaction in applying her interest and knowledge to help provide a matrix where the two could meet and corroborate information and understanding. After receiving care for migraine headaches, which current medical care could not cure, she met Fa Xiang Ho, a young Chinese fella who was trying to expand his family's practice of Qigong into the United States. He was able to cure her headaches for good. The next thing you know, I had a brother. I had a new family as she adopted him and his family into her home. She then continued out to help establish QRS, the Qigong Research Society. While my daughter was the first biological grandchild, Ting was actually the first grandchild, and her kids, her first great-grandchildren. Of course, in typical fashion, Qigong with Master Ho was included in the medical yoga conferences. She delighted in being involved and helped grow QRS. Having specifically designed hot yoga basement, she taught yoga from her home in her Traditions neighborhood, and even later continued to give back in her last days, doing chair yoga for the people in the area. Mom always had a love of living. She was a game. She managed to scuba dive despite being a poor swimmer. She loved skiing and accumulated friends along many ski trips. She was a Jamaican, traveling often to Jamaica and to enjoy and teach yoga and resorts out there. Of course, trips to visit her kids' families in Australia and Thailand, and a couple of trips to Brazil were the norm. She lived for these moments. Wherever she went, people remarked about her youthful attitude and zest for life. Mom did not miss a graduation, bar or bat mitzvah, wedding, or any family event, despite them occurring worldwide. She would pack up her things and my father's, and they were off. She was active, fit, and full of vim and vigor. Mom's later years were difficult, owing to ongoing circulatory problems and the isolation of the COVID pandemic, which hit her hard, both physically and mentally. Her love for travel was stymied. She could not travel to Australia, Thailand, or Jamaica. It took a lot out of her. Still, in her manner of loving and giving was evident to all. She created an online chair yoga class, which she taught until her last days in her community, and continued to study yoga philosophy online. Mom was mom to a very large family of people. She will be missed. Thank you.
Keith had referenced the grandchildren, the biological grandchildren, and I want to acknowledge them as well. Sabrina, who we'll be hearing from, Brianna, Samuel, and Aaron. We also want to acknowledge her brother Norman, who's not here physically with us today. I'm next honored to call on Lucy.
I feel so honored to be up here today in behalf of my family, my son that's not here, and in behalf of my family in Brazil, behalf of Keith and our friends that are far from here, and they couldn't attend today, but they loved Shell. They loved her very much. And of course, we're very thankful to see everybody here and some of my good friends that are present today, and for the ones that are watching online. It would take me a very long time to talk about my mother-in-law, which she was really my mom. She was a mom to me. So I am going to, and to talk about our memories also, but I am just going to read you guys a poem that I thought it was something that Mom came to mind when I read it. It's called She's Gone, and I would say Shell is gone. It's by David Harkins. It's a English poet, and this is a very short, modern poem that focuses on the gratitude we feel for those that we love, their presence, their legacy, their very lives, and we will never be the same because they lived, because Shell lived. And it goes, you can shed tears that she's gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she's gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and you can close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what Shell would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. Mom, you will always be in my heart. You will always be in my thoughts. Thank you.
I found that text so moving, Lucy. Could you please send that to me afterwards? Thank you. Now I'll call on Eric.
Thank you. My mom's life was all about us here and all of you. Mom's life was about everybody, and she just couldn't do enough for everybody. That's what she did. Mom would want us to celebrate her life right now. Her biggest claim is, oh, I don't want to be a burden. You know, that's what she would have said. She was everybody's friend. She was a scholar. She was a gifted financial planner. She should have been a doctor. She was the emotional therapist to every one of my friends. Some of them are here right now. She was a yogi. She was a foundation planner. Mom could have been anything she wanted in the world, but she chose to be our mother. She could have been president, and she would have been a Republican. That we know. All right. Wait, Mom's life was so colorful, and I know she wouldn't want us to be sad here. So there were a couple of really sentinel moments in her life that I remember of the thousands and thousands of memories. First is when my brother and I were very young, and we were going to, I think, Parkway School in Mount Laurel, and we used to have to walk out to the bus in the morning. And we'd go out there early, and one day, I forget, the woman whose house we were in front of, she kicked us out. It's too early to be here. She sent us home. We went home. We went back again. She kicked us out a second time. So we told Mom. Mom stormed over there, looked her in the eye, got this far in her face, and ripped her a new one. And while it was a little bit embarrassing, I was like, yeah, this is who my mom is. Mom was loving. She was soft. But she was tough. You know, you weren't going to get by Mom. Second thing I remembered, when, Mom, everybody knows Mom loved Jamaica, right? Mom loved the beach. She loved the environment. She loved the chill. She loved the weather. But Mom also loved her ganja, as we all know. It's all legal now. We can talk about it, right? So one day, I was walking down the beach. We had just gotten there, and we walked by, and Mom was going to get what she gets, right? She walks up to a guy with dreadlocks, and he's just sitting there chilling out. And she says, I want to get some grass. That's what she called about, some grass. Guy reaches into his pocket. He grabs and puts some out there. She goes, I don't want that. I want what you smoke. And I said, man, my mom, she was next level intelligent like that. You know what I mean? They're all playing checkers and Mom was playing chess. And I just looked at her. I go, wow, this is like a superpower I didn't even know she had. And I was just like, yeah, Mom, we had to go. But Mom was always planning ahead, right? She taught us that. I moved out of America in I forget what year. I moved out of New Jersey in '88, and I moved out of the country in 2004. My mom showed us the world. She and my dad took us everywhere, and we learned about the world. We learned so much about the world that my sister and I both ended up living on the other side of the world, much to her chagrin. She didn't get to see us much, and I know that was very difficult on her. But she and my dad would come and have adventures with us. And they came over, and we took them all through Thailand, riding on rafts down the river, riding on elephants with my dad sitting on the elephant's head. I was working in Africa, and I took them over to Swaziland. And it was just such amazing, joyous times. And their sense of adventure is what gave us our sense of adventure. That idea that we could go anywhere we wanted to go. We could do anything we wanted to do if we just saw the way through and pushed through. And man, that's a gift. That's a gift we're going to hold on forever. And that is what I'm teaching my children right now, too. There's no limits except to what you think you can do and what you want to do and how hard you're willing to go for it. My mom taught me that. You know, when I look back at it, everybody who knew my dad, it definitely wasn't my dad who taught us that, but my mom, she was all over that. So Mom taught, the best lesson she taught me everything is she taught me about family. I was never that great about family. I was always out of here. And we got to spend a lot of time with Mom, me, and my family over the last 3 to 4 years. In COVID, we got stuck here for 3 months, and while it was awful during COVID, it was 3 of the most memorable months I've ever had with her, because it was me and my 2 boys and my mom in that house, just spending time together. We couldn't go anywhere. And really, it was, as awful as COVID was, that was a wonderful time for us. We came back every summer. When my son Zen was a little boy, we would send him over here alone, and he would live with Grandma, and he would have the best 5 weeks of the summer. Mom would take him everywhere and walk around the neighborhood with him and teach her about her family and what they did when they were younger, and it was such a special time for him. And he and his grandmother have this bond that will go on forever. We came back this winter because we knew time was starting to get short for Grandma. And Mom got to meet my wife and my new stepdaughter, and they just, boom, bonded. They're the same type of people, which is going to eventually drive me absolutely crazy, I'm certain. But my wife, Palmy, she and my mom fell in love with each other. The family got all together. It was really some special time. And I'm just really thankful that I had 63 years with my mom. Most people don't get that. You know, it's really great. And every moment we had with her was special. Just like with my dad, I don't feel like they went away. I feel like they're always here, you know? Can always reach out to them, always talk to them. And Mom, we love you. Everybody here loved my mom, and my mom loved everybody here. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Eric. I must say, in all of my lifetime or career of officiating at funerals, I've never heard of the deceased's choice of ganja before. I call next on Deb, who has a reading also from David.
Don't know if everyone can see me down here. Before I get started, I had a thought this morning because Mom always provided everything for us, and I didn't have the right shoes with me, so I went into Mom's closet, and she had the perfect shoes, but I had to wear socks, and it just goes to show that I will never be able to fill my mother's shoes. Anyone here today who knew Mom knew how much she and I loved each other. I don't think there are words to describe the depth of feeling and bond between us. Even living halfway around the world, that umbilical cord was never cut. We were always so close that I feel like we spent my entire life happily living as each other's shadows. Our dad used to call me the clone, and I can think of no better compliment. Our mom was named for her great-grandmother, Raja Wolf. She was known as the wise woman in the shtetl they lived in. My mom certainly embraced that legacy. Mom had a way of opening worlds for people, especially for her kids, and with that came great responsibility, requiring great strength. And to turn a phrase, referring to my son, Aaron, who spoke to me about this last year, she embodied the universal spirit of Mahadevi, a supremely benevolent and protective creator. I could extol her virtues for hours, but today I also want to give thanks. Thanks to God for giving us this mother who gave us everything, gave totally of herself with love, wisdom, kindness, generosity, and strength. Thanks to our mom for everything. Thank you for somehow enduring terrible pain and waiting just long enough for me to be here with you for your final days. It was the greatest honor of my life to give back to you and care for you and send you home. Thanks to my brothers, Keith and Eric, who wisely guided us through the difficult times during her hospice and assured me of their faith in my ability to help her. It meant so much. Thanks to all three of my brothers for all the medical things that she needed help with that I could not provide. And a special thank you to Keith, who's been doing all the heavy lifting for so many years. Thanks to my beautiful sister-in-law, Lucy, who stood by our sides and always by our mom's side as a daughter. Lucy always knows what to do with her special brand of grace, wisdom, and skill. Thanks to Marjorie Skyers, Mom's home health aide, who kept her so well and went above and beyond her duties with love. Thanks to my family back in Australia, David, Bree, and Aaron, for their support of me during this crucial time away and for their love and prayers. Thanks to Mom's friends who were here when we couldn't be. And a special nod to April and Dave and Rona and the yoga ladies, Robin and Bob, and the members of YRS and Sky Foundation. Thank you all for being a part of her life and letting her light shine through you. I also have a few words from my husband, David, who couldn't be here. He says, I've been reflecting on the Kabbalistic concept of tikkun olam over the past few days and feel it has so much relevance to Shell's life. I found a quote from Rabbi Schneerson who said, if you see what needs to be repaired and how to repair it, then you have found a piece of the world that God has left for you to complete. I truly believe that Shell exemplified this throughout her life's journey. In the 27 years I've known her, she connected so many people, shared so many new ideas, researched and taught, welcomed so many people into her home, spread her wisdom, and most importantly, dedicated herself to her family. She did it with enthusiasm, with energy, with love, loyalty, and conviction. She provided a role model for the entire family and carried on the extraordinary traditions of strong Zayg women. There is no doubt in my mind, in her own unique way, she fulfilled tikkun olam and helped repair the world.
Tikkun olam is extraordinarily important. It's a sense that the world is shattered and in need of repair. And that literally the phrase means to repair the world, not just the physical world, but the spiritual one as well. So thank you for all that. I now call on Sabrina.
Doesn't hit you till you're here. Someone I love told me recently that in this world there are special people who will never leave us because we keep them alive in our memories. If we are fortunate enough to share life with them, then it is our job to keep them in memory. I'm fortunate enough to have a collection of memories about my mana that, like her, may have passed but will continue to live in my heart. I want to share a few so everyone can get a glimpse of how I saw my mana. She was my first yoga teacher, starting with reading the book My Daddy is a Pretzel, and almost magically shape-shifting ourselves into airplanes and trees and lions in my bedroom. She taught yoga at my elementary school afternoon program, and I was so proud to turn to my schoolmates and say, you should sign up for the yoga class. My grandma's the teacher. But perhaps one of the less recognized uses of her training, her yoga training, were the hours she spent on the floor with us grandkids doing puzzles. When I walk past the Dove ice cream bars in the freezer aisle of the supermarket, I will remember her. I will remember her laughing, cocktail in hand at 83 years old, at 11 p.m. in the streets of Madrid on a food and wine tour with us, and how impressed our tour group was with how she kept up. Some will remember her giant tub of Dum Dum lollipops on top of her fridge. Good for a treat after lunch, and even better after a scraped bleeding knee at the pool in the backyard of the old house. I will remember her through our shared high arches and size 5 feet, through the hundreds of loaves of cornbread from Johnson's farm that she brought me because she knew I liked it. I will remember her through the lessons she taught me. Do it while you can. Know how special you are and all that you are capable of. And make sure they treat you well. But in the end, I'll remember her for how she made me feel. Mana took every opportunity to tell the people she loved how she felt about them. You are my angel. You're my treasures. I know we all have our collection of memories, and if we all take some time every now and then to flip through them, share them with friends, pass them down through generations, she will never truly be gone. I want to close with a quote for all my cousins watching from different corners of the world. Grandma wrote this just last year. For me, the most amazing relationships in this life have been my grandchildren. I can't possibly express the joy that you all have added to my life. I would love to be here and get to know my great-grandchildren. And I doubt I will have that privilege in this life, but I hope I will remain in their bands and have the privilege of guiding them from the other side. We'll love you forever, Maya. And I have a note from Bree, all the way in Australia. The second-born biological grandchild. I will miss the way she hugged me. When she was hugging you, she would hold you with every fiber of her being. You could feel her love radiating out of her. I will miss her laughter. When she laughed at a joke, it always came up through the floor from her feet, up her body, and out her mouth. It was one of the most comforting sounds I've ever heard. I will miss her kindness and her vision, and her wisdom. She cared so much for everyone she met, but especially her family. A person is many things, and while I can say I will miss her for what I remember, for what she meant to me as a grandmother, the truth is that I will miss her most of all for just being herself. May her life and her memory be a blessing.
Now, we're going to have a call in from Sam and Aaron. How's that going to work? Does somebody have that logistical information? You're going to come up? Okay, Deb.
I got a thumbs up. Okay, bud. Hello? You good? Okay. How's that?
Testing.
Good, good. You can go.
Good morning. My name is Aaron Herman. I'm Michelle's grandson. The opal shoe on the symbolic necklace for which she had a charm for each of her grandchildren, which is something I didn't think about for a long time until writing this. Even though she almost always had it on at least once every time we would have a short and special visit to the U.S. or when she would visit Australia. Even though I'm sure I didn't know her for as long as many of you, I believe that necklace is a testament to her attitude with family. It was a logical, beautiful, loving reminder of the family and legacy she had made with Ed. There are so many things I think many of us here would not have seen the same way without the clever, driven, but open-minded mind that Shell had, and the personal manner that she had as well. I still feel as in years to come from now, there'll be so much I still won't understand about the accomplishments she made in her life. whether that be the work she did for YRS and getting her yoga teaching certification, especially the early time she received it, and for how long she had been teaching, or how she adapted to technology the way she did her whole life. I remember her telling me that she spent time solving some sort of organization on her DOS computer while dreaming. She knew so much and was so driven when it came to what she felt matters, and I'm touched to have spent so much precious time with her and can say with full certainty I would not be who I am now without her. Due to what she told me years ago, and I'm saying this for her now because I know she's there with all of you and within all of us, I will hold to her promise to be open, and then I can visit her again in another time, and I hope she remembers how to make her noodle kugel. Thank you.
And we have second call in from Aaron.
Okay, buddy, you're on.
Hey, Dad.
You're on, bud.
Oh, okay. I'm at the microphone. I'm at the
Hang on.
microphone. Stream is behind.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Samuel.
It was on speaker.
Am I on?
Can you hear us?
Okay. There's a lot of different ways, and it's been great to hear the different ways others will remember my grandma, to Sabrina and I, Mana. But for me, and maybe for better or for worse, I'll remember her for all of the gifts that she gave me. As a kid, she and Pata, my grandpa, or Ed, would always come over. They'd always have a little something for my sister and I, whether it was like some little toy or a puzzle or something. And as we grew older, these gifts, I realize now, became more metaphysical, or rather, non-concrete, abstract. She had this constant, unwavering love for my sister and I, belief in us, and I think that was probably the greatest gift of all. Whenever I would call her, if I was in a slump or whatever, I could always count on her to make me feel like $1 million. And looking back, I realized that that's the gift that Shell or Mana gave everybody. It was her love. There's really no other way to put it, and that's how she showed it, and that's how she will live on in me. And whenever I would find myself faltering, I know that I can think back and call on her this time, and instead of calling her, and know what she would say and how she would say it with all the love in the world. And so I hope that she lives on in this memory for you all as well as me. Thank you.
There's a commonality of a message here that each of you shared about our commitment to you and to showing you a perspective on life. I encourage you to read the obituary on the funeral home's website to hear even more of this beautifully written text about her life and all that was important to her. It's worth the time to investigate it and to please read it. We turn now to a prayer called El Malei Rachamim, God the Compassionate One. Even in times of sadness and sorrow, we turn to God for our support. In this text, I also will be using her Hebrew name, her Yiddish names. So listen for Raisa, also Rachel, one's Hebrew and one's Yiddish, Bat Shmuel. Shmuel was her father. I ask those who are comfortable to please stand. El Malay Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamtsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, B'malot Kedoshim U'Toharim, K'zohar Rakia Masirim, Et Reisha Rachel Bat Shmuel, Shalacha Le'olama, V'gan Eden Tehei Menuchata, Ana Ba'al HaRachamim, Hastireha B'setre Knapecha Le'olamim, Utzror B'tzror Chayim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach B'shalom HaMishkava V'nomar, Amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure. To the soul of Rochelle Fleischman, Raisa Rachel, daughter of Shmuel, who has gone to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is her portion. May she rest in the tranquility of shalom, of peace. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. The interment will take place at the Beth Israel Cemetery in Woodbridge, New Jersey, where she'll be buried alongside her husband, Edward. Shiva will be this afternoon after 4 o'clock, and then continuing Wednesday and Thursday at Shell's home from 1 to 8 p.m. Any potential memorial contributions in her memory will be welcome to be made to the Sky Foundation or the Yoga Research Society. Adonai miyagur b'holecha, miyishon b'har kodshecha, olech tamim b'chol esedek, v'dover emet lehovo, lo ragal al lishono, lo asal rehu ra'ah, v'cherpa lo asah al krovo, nivzer einav mima, yen yirei Adonai yirei, mishpal harav lo yamir, tafro lo natan b'neshech, you may be seated, please.